Welcome to r/Reddit Revenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. The first story. When incessant wrong number calls disrupted her life due to a radio station's mistake, she brilliantly turned the tables. The second story. Frustrated with the deteriorating train service and government inaction, a commuter took subversive action by distributing pamphlets with the politicians' home phone numbers. The third story. While pregnant, OP was unexpectedly fired, only to later discover that the unlicensed director of nursing who terminated her was forced to resign due to her actions. The first story is play stupid games, win double the stupid prizes. A little background. This story takes place 15 to 18 years ago. I'd moved to a new state. I'm in the US, and shortly after decided that it was time for a new cell phone company, and a new local cell phone number. Back then in the olden days, you had to get a new number when you switched providers. This new number was what I used on my resume and job applications. I'd given it to all my family and friends, and associated it with all my personal accounts such as bills, medical, and banking. On to the story. All names, locations, prizes, etc. have been changed. Skip ahead about 2 months. Early one Monday morning, I'm awakened by my cell phone ringing. It was from out of state and a number that I didn't recognize. When I answered, the woman on the other end asked if she'd reached the contest hotline, and if she was caller number X. I politely told her that she had gotten the wrong number, hung up, and thought no more of it. I went back to sleep. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. It was from a different number from a different state with a man asking if he was caller number X. Again, I explained he had the wrong number. Now, this went on repeatedly for 90 minutes, from 6:30 a.m. until 8 a.m. That good old morning commute time of day. That first morning, I had gotten around 25 to 30 calls, all of which were from different cities and states across the country. I had answered each and every one of them begrudgingly, and mostly because I couldn't be sure that the call was not a call that I needed to answer, as I had many resumes out to various public school systems, community colleges, and universities. This was more than a little annoying and definitely inconvenient for me. But mistakes happen. I'm a forgiving person. I figured my number must be a number off from some contest that some business or charity in my area must be running, and that it was a one-time thing. I thought I had confirmed that when I didn't get a wrong number call all day Tuesday. However, Wednesday morning, 6:30 a.m., the calls started again. Skip Thursday, then Friday. At that point, I decided to call my cell phone provider to see about changing my phone number. Yeah, that was like passing gas in a closed-in space. It stunk and left a bad taste in my mouth. According to the misogynistic jerk I spoke to, the 20-plus wrong number calls per day were nothing more than a minor inconvenience for me. Even though each answered call meant that I was being charged minutes against my 750 minutes per month phone plan. I told you this was the olden days and before unlimited calling was affordable. I was being overly sensitive. Yep, I'm female, and since I had just taken on a 2-year contract with them, it would cost me an arm, a leg, and my firstborn to change my number. His reasoning behind the hairy mammoth amount of money he quoted me to do this was that I would be voiding my 2-year contract 22 months early, and would have to pay off the remainder of the original contract, as well as the additional fee for changing the number. Side note, I found out later that this was not true, and had I pulled a Karen and spoken to his supervisor, I could have had the number changed for around $50, but you wouldn't have this story to read. Anyway, I put up with wrong number calls for another week until that Friday. I'd had enough and decided to get to the bottom of it. I answered my ringing phone. The woman stammered and asked if this was the contest hotline. I said it wasn't, but was curious as to know what number she was trying to call. She apologized and explained. She'd been calling the local West Coast number for radio station, a very large, very well-known, and very Fortune 500 radio station on the Upper East Coast. They were running a contest where if you were caller number X, the number changed every 30 minutes on each contest day. Then you would receive a prize, such as premiere movie tickets, theater tickets, football tickets, etc. And your name would be entered into their drawing for a grand prize for something like an all-expenses-paid weekend to some desirable tourist destination. I thanked the woman for the information and immediately got on the computer to find this radio station, to talk to them about how my cell phone number, or any cell phone number, was inadvertently associated with their station and contest. I found the number and called using my partner's phone since my phone continued to ring. The conversations below are not exact, but the gist of it is there. Receptionist. Radio station. This is receptionist speaking. Me. Hi, receptionist. I need to speak with someone about how to stop calls to your radio station from being routed to my cell phone. Receptionist. I'm sorry, but we don't route calls to cell phones. Me. I'm sure you don't deliberately route them, but I'm getting dozens of phone calls 3 days a week that are supposed to be going to your contest line. Receptionist. Oh, let me get our marketing department on the line for you. They're in charge of the contest. 10 minutes later, marketing guy is on the line and telling me that there's no way I'm getting phone calls meant for their station. I must be making it up in order to sue the god of all radio stations for an easy buck, and how he wasn't going to let that happen. Me. Listen to this, marketing guy. I answer my ringing cell phone and place the call on speaker, putting the receiver close so that marketing guy can hear the conversation. Me. Hello? Woman. Oh, hi, is this the contest line? Am I caller number X? Please say yes. Me. I'm sorry, but you have the wrong number. Woman. Wrong number? I'm sure I dialed the number correctly. Is this 555-XXX-XXXX? Me. No, ma'am. My number is 123-XXX-XXXX. Woman. But the number I'm looking at on my phone right now says I called 555-XXX-XXXX. Me. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, but somehow you got me instead. I hang up and go back to marketing guy, who's a little more contrite, but still not willing to do anything about it. Marketing guy. Look, we're a massive radio station, and our phone system and the rollover numbers are just as massive. It would take us thousands of man-hours and thousands of dollars to chase down one phone number that was input incorrectly into our rollover system. It'd just be easier for you to change your phone number or ignore the calls until the contest is over in a couple of months. For those who don't know what a rollover system is, I'll give you my understanding, which really isn't much. Let's say this station had one phone number but 200 lines, each with their own unique phone number. You call the number, but there are 300 people calling that same number at the same time. Instead of getting a busy signal when you call, your call rolls over, or calls line 2. If line 2 is busy, it rolls over and calls line 3 and so on, until it comes to a line that's available. If all 200 are busy, only then do you get a busy signal. The rollover takes place in a matter of nanoseconds, without the caller ever being aware. So where the station here was concerned, they have hundreds of phone numbers throughout the country, and thousands of rollover numbers. It would have been time-consuming and expensive for them to track down my number in their rollover system, and remove it and replace it with the correct number. Also, they would have had to figure out what number was missing from their system in the first place. Me. So basically what you're telling me is that I have to foot the bill that I can't afford for a blunder that you made because this massive billion-dollar company is too cheap to fix it. Marketing guy. Dripping condescension. Listen, sweetheart, there's simply nothing I can do. First of all, there was plenty that he could have done. I had already considered my options and thought that I would just turn off my phone from 6:30 to 8, 3 days a week, and wait until they ended this horrid contest. It was the cheapest and most logical solution. But second of all, I really hate being called sweetheart. Cue the revenge. The following Monday, every single person who called the contest line and were routed to me, about 30 that day, was greeted with, "Hi, you've reached the contest line. Congratulations, you're a winner. And as a special thank you, we'll be doubling your prize." I pretended to take down all their pertinent information, such as name, address, and phone number. I told them that they had to claim their prizes by calling this number. I gave them the receptionist number, and asking to speak to marketing guy in the marketing department. But they had to call marketing guy within the next 30 minutes, and to keep calling until they reached him, no one else, or they would forfeit all the prizes. I repeated this on Wednesday to another 20 to 30 winners. Friday, however, was blissfully silent. Not one contest line call. I don't know what happened with the radio station and their contest, but I can only guess and smile as I imagine them having to give out 120 prizes for those 2 days, instead of the 6 they had intended. I'm amazed at how fast old marketing guy went from "there's simply nothing I can do" to getting it done in 4 days or less when he was the one answering 30 wrong number calls. I'll bet he didn't call me sweetheart either. I never had another redirected rollover call again. Now that's a story that makes even the harshest reader smile. Good move, OP. This marketing guy could have actually changed his status from can't do anything to even a genius can't get around. But no, he left you with an interesting alternative, to double all the winnings for the lucky ones. When you started telling everyone who called about the doubled prizes and telling them to call marketing guy, you created a real mess for the radio station. And suddenly they found a way to handle it when it was a problem for them. And you were able to pay marketing guy back for his dismissive attitude, misleading you, and even for his use of the name sweetheart. Now that this story is a part of your past, it will always remind you of the day you won the fight against annoying calls and had too much fun. The second story is subverting the railroad pamphlets. Until 1995, the oldest locomotives in service in North America were running in Montreal, on the only electrified rail line in Canada. The oldest one was built in 1914 and ran non-stop from 1918 to 1995. That's a solid 77 years. By the end, they were pretty roughed up and patched here and there. The government delayed financing the reconstruction. After 77 years, nothing but a total rebuilt from the ground up would do, of the line until the very last minute. Around 1989 to 1990, the service was pretty bad with everything falling apart. So the railroad, who was contracted by the government to operate the line, started giving out pamphlets to commuters explaining that the trains were very old. No kidding, as if it wasn't obvious by the wood paneling inside the cars. So I decided to improve it, taking most of the pamphlets and adding that the line wasn't rebuilt because the government diverted the budget for road construction. True, but you can call the Minister of Transport, as well as the members of Parliament along the rail line, all members of the government then in power, and I provided all those unsavory people's home phone numbers. I had about 5,000 of them printed, and I brought them in the operator's office, where the train crews came to pick their operating orders. All the pamphlets were duly distributed by the train crews, and some more were photocopied by the operators, the guy who handed out the train orders to the crews. At one point, a railroad operations big shot saw one of the pamphlets, said yeah, it's true, and put back the pamphlets on the desk. Of course, all hell broke loose. The Minister of Transport was swamped with phone calls. The railroad police got involved and investigated. The operators were questioned. Well, a guy came and gave us the pamphlets, even though they knew very well who I was, but no one could specifically pinpoint the blame on anyone. Eventually, they decided to rebuild the line, and $250 million later, shiny new trains were zipping along new shiny rails. 17 years later, they're overflowing with people. Okay, $250 million is not petty, but the thousands of phone calls sure were, and the inept government was ousted well before the rebuilt line reopened. Instead of just complaining about the outdated trains, you decided to stage a comedy coup. Adding the phone numbers of influential people to the pamphlets was a stroke of genius. The chaos and confusion that followed the distribution of these pamphlets was hardly foreseeable. Ideally, you would have left the pamphlets on the table and walked away, but if you had been in the room when they were opened, it would have been more fun. It turns out that you discovered the best way to bring the problem to the authorities is to leave the pamphlets with the house numbers of influential members of the government. It certainly attracted attention. The result was the reconstruction of the line and new trains that replaced the old locomotives. And receiving thousands of calls and electoral coup is a great victory. Congratulations. The third story is fired while pregnant. I, at the time, 20 female, was working 2 jobs at the same nursing home while pregnant. I did physical therapy 9 to 5, and then was a CNA from 5 to 10:30 p.m. My workload was getting crazy, and I was drained with my 12-hour shifts. I had let the facility know that I wanted to stop doing my extra CNA shifts while pregnant, and continue to do my 9 to 5 physical therapy position. From my understanding, HR was completely okay with this, so I signed the paperwork. The next day, I got a call from the director of nursing saying how she's so sad that I had quit my job, and best of luck in the future. I was taken back for a minute. I told her there must be a mistake. I only stopped doing extra shifts for the rest of my pregnancy. She then proceeded to tell me no, I had to quit working altogether. I was so upset. There was nothing I could do or say to get my job back. I took it as retaliation that I made them sort of staff member for aid work, and so she fired me from the whole company. While I was working there, I had found out the director of nursing didn't actually have any license to run the facility. So I called the health department and basically told on her. When I went in the next couple days to get my paycheck, I had found out she resigned until she got the appropriate certification to continue her job. I was still mad about being fired, but she also lost her job, so it made me feel good. The director of nursing could have proposed merging your 2 roles into a single position, as a CNA/physical therapist with extended 10-hour shifts, accompanied by a substantial salary increase. Additionally, the new arrangement could have included a generous 2-hour meal break, providing you with the flexibility to handle personal tasks or simply unwind. Nevertheless, congratulations, OP. Your actions were not only petty but also essential for the facility's well-being. Hit the like button to support the channel and subscribe. Have a good day.